So, I don't know why YouTube has these strict rules where you can't go live until you have 1,000 subscribers. Like, why not 100? 100 is still hard to get, you know. But so I was up really late last night, um, working on a song called Verisimilitude. 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 I was gonna tell you the definition, but maybe you should look it up. Cause it's interesting, you know. It's the appearance of something being real. That's one of the meanings. But anyway, I got a little story that I like to tell. And it's kind of close to my heart. So first, I want to start it off by talking about a friend of mine named Salman, which is kind of like Solomon. He's from Pakistan. And one of his friends was preaching the gospel, talking about Jesus, and somebody threw oil on him and burnt him alive. And he made it to the hospital with like third-degree burns or whatever. His whole body was charred. And my friend went there and was feeding him, but ultimately he died, you know, in the hospital. And then not long after that, my friend's wife was talking about Jesus at work, and one of her co-workers or somebody at where she was working at threw oil on her and started to burn her. Her whole arm and shoulder was burnt. She survived. They ended up having a kid. I think it was a little boy. And man, he's such a nice guy, you know, such a good guy. And I talked to him on Telegram because I have a Telegram, the Free Age Movement, and then I created another Telegram called Soldiers for Christ. Yeah, I was inspired by Pastor Sandy and Pastor Ben's church. And I know people fellowship when they do their live videos, and I think on Facebook. I just wanted to create a Telegram where I could, you know, where we could share information, PDF documents, videos, audios, all of that without the fallen angels interfering with it, right? So I had an interview today, and it was looking like it was going to be a pretty good job for me. Didn't pay a lot at all, but it was in the service industry where you would be picking up people in wheelchairs. It was like a wheelchair transport service where people that get discharged from the hospital, and the elderly, special needs, people with handicap or disabilities. And I'm like, that's right up my alley, you know, because I want to help people. And it's not about money, fame, or fortune for me. I think a lot of people thought that about me because I made music. But if they actually listened to the music, they would have knew that it was a lot deeper than that, you know. Because I know what I'm here for. Back then, I might have been clouded a little bit, you know, by the mind control because I was younger, you know, early 20s. So that element was probably there a little bit, but the fact that I rap with Busy Bone from Bone Thugs and Harmony, those artists were not making music like that, you know. I actually feel like when Bone Thugs and Harmony came into the hip-hop gang, the rap gang, it was kind of like a breath of fresh air because they didn't make songs degrading women, you know. They did talk about God. They talked a lot about street stuff too, but I think that was forced onto them. You know what I mean? And they had to ride. They had to go along with that. Because I know when I was working with Busy, it was conveyed to me uh, that if I wanted to make it, I had to make songs like a song I did called "Murder You Breathing," or just dark, murderous, violent type of songs. And I don't know. I don't know if I really wanted to do that. And it makes sense why Jurassic 5, I called them the Extinct 5. But why Pac, Big, Eazy-E, Gaddafi, and DJ Newmark or Paul C. McCasey, why they took the escape route to get out of that, and was still able to do music because they all were connected by music and loved music, but they wanted to exist and do it in the right way. So you got to admire that, and for whatever reason they don't want to reveal why they. I mean, they can. I mean, if you fake your death, you have to live that out. You have to live out this alternate identity, because technically you're already dead to the world. And if you died again, like nobody, I don't know, people just wouldn't connect the dots because a lot of people are not awake. But anyway, I always feel like, hey, Pac, Big, and Easy, man, you got your music, whether it was because of the CIA, the government, the fallen angels, they use you to lead a nation, millions of people astray all over the world. So why not, in these final moments, do what's right and start proclaiming the gospel of Jesus Christ to the world and tell them your testimony. Don't fear men, fear God. I think God will protect them. I don't know. I'm speaking out. I've always spoke out. I don't care if I die. Actually, I welcome it. You know what I mean? Let's go. Because I know where I'm going. And you just helping me get there quicker. So, anyway, the story I wanted to tell, the interview didn't go so well because it was going great, but I think for like interviewers, they always want to know, like, this was a pretty intense interview. I've never had these many questions asked, these type of questions asked. Usually it's pretty straightforward. But anyway, it was a pretty deep interview. And they do weekly COVID testing like twice a week. And I was just like, nah, I'm not taking no vaccine and I'm not taking no COVID test. Period. I'm just not doing it. And the world is at a point now where they got to comply with the fallen angels. At least they think they do. Or it's the whole mark of the beast system coming into effect, right? You can't buy or sell without taking the mark of the beast. Well, it's the same thing. You can't buy or sell if you don't get tested or if you don't take the vaccine. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not complying. I'm not going to bow down and worship Satan. He's a chump. I don't like him, and I'll never praise that dude, ever. So, anyway, they know they going to hell, and they just mad because they want everybody to go to hell with them. And if you smart enough, you gonna wake up and be like, I'm not going to hell for y'all, because we got to work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. I heard that that's right out there. Okay, I feel you. Anyway, or amen or hallelujah. So I got a story. My father was a sign man. He did signs. So when he came to America, it's an interesting story. My dad met my mother on a bus in Mexico City. My father was a runaway because he didn't get along with his father's new girlfriend, his stepmom. My grandmother died at an early age, and And when my grandfather remarried, my dad just wasn't gelling. He wasn't vibing with the new woman, so he left. And so he was a runaway. He was successful, and he was making it on his own. This lady's laughing at me because I'm doing the video or whatever. But I'm used to it. I've been persecuted my whole life. Like I don't care what people think. You know what I mean? Who is this lady anyway, right? Let's look at her. Who is she? Oh, there she is. There she is. And her boyfriend. Okay. So anyway, so yeah, so my dad, you know, he met my mom on a train or on a bus or whatever, subway. I don't remember. He met her and she was a runaway. She was crying on the bus or whatever, and I think she was sitting next to him. So he asked her if she like needed the tissue or something like that. And they started talking, and she told him that she ran away from home because she was kind of going through a similar situation with my grandmother on my mom's side, because her mom's boyfriend was molesting her, and she was trying to tell her mom that her mom didn't believe her, so she ran away. And my dad was like, well, if you don't got nowhere to go, I got an extra room, you know, you can stay there, you know, or whatever. And then I think after like a year or so, they end up getting together and getting married. They actually got married. And so I think maybe she got pregnant before they actually got married. Yeah. So they got married before she got pregnant before she got married, which is interesting because there's rules and legalities in the spiritual realm about like children being born out of wedlock or whatever like that. And so her mom caught wind of it and took her and moved to Miami, Florida. So my dad was like, yo, what happened? And, you know, was worried about all of that. So maybe she went home and visited her mom to tell her about her being pregnant, think she would be happy that she got married, and she wasn't. And being a very controlling woman, she pretty much kidnapped my mom back or whatever, and took her to Florida and changed her identity and all that to some extent, so they could make it in the U.S. And I can talk about it now because both my parents are deceased. But anyways, she was writing letters to my dad, so my dad had her address, and he made the long, hard journey into America and surprised her on her birthday. And that really upset my mother's mother, my grandmother. And she hated my dad, you know. And my dad said he walked in on her one time and she had the cross of Jesus upside down and she was burning it and she was doing some type of incantations or Santeria, voodoo rituals, something like that. So he already knew that she was an evil woman, you know. And she's still alive, you know. I finally met her, and, you know, she's not like a genuinely nice person. I could still sense the evil in her, you know what I mean? But I prayed for her, and I talked to her about Jesus, and, you know, she's just went through chemotherapy, so maybe on this last leg of her journey, it's starting to click. She's starting to realize that Jesus is Lord, and that she did a lot of horrible stuff. She did something not too long ago where she forged my name on some documents to try to get, I don't know, I don't want to get too deep into all that, but yeah, she did something where she had to use my identity and my name. I'm pretty sure it was like, I don't know, you can probably guess what it is. It's all about money, right? So that's between her and the Lord. But anyway, my dad ended up getting her pregnant again, and she had me. And then my grandmother wanted her to have an abortion and was trying to force her into it because she didn't want her to have anything to do with my dad. And I guess the day that they went to the doctors, maybe my something happened with my grandmother to where the hospital had to check on her, and they found out that she was pregnant. And not only was she pregnant, she was the same months along that my mother was. So come to find out that both of their babies would have been born a couple of days apart or on the same day almost, which kind of threw a rock in what she was trying to get my mother to do, get my mother to have an abortion. Like, how you can force my mother to have an abortion when you're pregnant and she's pregnant with a boy. So 2 boys. My grandmother was pregnant with a boy, and my mom's pregnant with a boy, and they're supposed to be due at the same time. And it's true. My uncle is like a day older than me, or a day younger than me. I forget. But our birthdays are literally like 2 days apart, right? So, anyways, my grandmother was doing anything and everything she could. She let her have the child, which was me, obviously. But she did everything she could to get rid of my dad. And she was still controlling my mom's life, trying to get her to hang out with drug dealers. And she just had complete control of my mother's life, you know. And my mom was young, you know. She was probably like, I don't know, 18, 19 years old. So she was still at an age where she's, you know, the frontal lobe wasn't fully developed. You know what I mean? So, anyway, fast forward to the story I wanted to talk about. My dad died of brain cancer. He had issues with his brain and his memory. I just had a dream, and in the dream I was with my dad, and he was like living with me, and I'm like, yeah, Dad, I got a 2-bedroom, you know, the other room's yours, you don't have to work, you know, you can just retire, and I'm gonna make sure all the bills is paid, and you don't gotta worry. And he's like, no, I want to do this, I want to do that. And I could tell in the dream that his brain still wasn't functioning the right way, you know. And I noticed this when he was dying, which was the most horrible thing to ever watch somebody die of brain cancer. It's just the worst. I mean, cancer's bad in itself, but brain cancer, you know. And I mean, I woke up crying. I mean, I still cry because of what he went through when he was dying, you know. And just the way, everything with how he died. Like my half brother from Zanesville basically kidnapped my dad, took him to Zanesville. Even though all the families here in Columbus, he wanted to get that last little thing in, you know, like, oh, I'm a nurse, I know what's best. And it's like, you actually don't know what's best, you know what I mean? And we actually was administering a cure for my father, the cure for cancer, which I'm sure YouTube will try to, whatever, you know, like I care. But it was working. It was healing him. He was getting better. I had my brother come from California, my other half brother Gino come from California to administer the medicine to him so I could work. But he was just focused on partying, getting drunk, bringing girls over there. He wasn't giving the medicine to my dad at the right times. We had all the medicine made up, and all Gino had to do was give it to him at at certain points of the day. And he was just like, here, Dad, you can do it, right? And it's like, no, he can't do it. He has brain cancer. That's why I had you come here to do it. And he like started a GoFundMe, kept the money, just really crummy stuff. I mean, obviously we got to forgive people, you know what I mean? And but it just boils me up, man, because we did have that chance to save my father, you know what I mean? How many people get the cure for cancer, you know what I mean? So the fact that we had that here, Moringa oleifera and astragalus, and I know all the ingredients, you know what I'm saying? I got them, so, and I take it, you know what I mean? So both my parents died from cancer, so I make sure that I take the cure, you know, every day. I'm taking it, so just to be on the safe side. Even though I got Jesus, I ain't really tripping, and I don't care to die, you know. I welcome it. I don't want to be here anyway, but I'm probably gonna get raptured. Fingers crossed. So, but anyway, so I was thinking about the Muslim things, you know, how evil some of these Muslims are. And my dad was forgetful, but he always made good on it. You know, you just had to constantly remind my dad because he had brain cancer and he's had it for years, I guess, and he just didn't know. And it just progressively got worse because he didn't trust the hospitals, and I don't blame him, you know. I don't trust them. So these Muslims, man, they own a little corner store on Fifth Avenue in Cassidy. East Fifth and Cassidy. I couldn't tell you how many times I went in there and I wanted to I wanted to get revenge on them. But they jumped my dad. They set him up. They found him in the parking lot. They beat him up and they robbed him. You know? And I guess they weren't happy with the sign that he did. I mean, he wasn't the best. It's not he wasn't the best artist, but a lot of these people, my dad will sit down with them. They'll pick out what they want. Sometimes they don't have an idea. They just got the name. And so my dad will go ahead and make the whole sign, which costs money, materials, and all that. And then they don't like it. And they want to start making these little changes. And really what they're doing is they're trying to knock the price down. You know what I mean? Or not pay the remaining balance. And that's how they pretty much... That happened to my dad all the time, you know? And it was tough on my dad, you know, because, you know, he's an independent, you know, he's an independent business owner. And... you know, he's trying to be artistic and creative for the customer, but, you know, they just gave him a hard time. I think anybody in the creative field has to deal with that. Like, if you're an artist or a painter, or I think you can relate, you know. Anytime you have to use your creative abilities for people, graphic designers probably, I mean, because that's what my dad did, you know what I mean? He was an artist, so... but I know people in the graphic design field, they go through that all the time. And that's why they say, you know, we'll do like 1 to 2, 3 corrections for this amount. And so my dad had the same policy, but, you know, he dealt with small business owners, you know. And these are, you got to think, these people are independent business owners, and they're very stubborn and hard-headed. Not all of them, but a lot of them are, you know. That's why they're in business for themselves. And my dad was kind of the same way, but not really, because he just had to find a way to make a living in this country, and he didn't speak English, so he really didn't have a choice, you know, sink or swim. But anyways, I was just thinking about that, you know. Obviously it came to my mind, I gotta forgive the Muslims for that. But, you know, sometimes when I drive by over there, I went in there one time and I was set on, you know, I was going to handle some business that day. And I think they knew it. And I came in there, I was ready to go. I was going to do something bad, you know what I mean? And they just started, "Oh, hey sir, hi, how are you doing?" And I felt like they recognized my father's face and my face, and they already knew what it was. They knew what I was there for, because they were just like talking in their own language, like, "Hey, is there anything we can..." And I know you don't treat, this is the hood, they don't treat nobody like that. Like, hood corner stores, like, come on, man, you know, they're pretty tough on you when you come in those stores. They follow you around, they're watching you, making sure you don't steal nothing. And I remember I told my dad, like, "Dad, I was gonna shoot those dudes today." And he was like, no, please just leave it alone, I'm okay, don't worry about it." And I'm like, "Nah, man, I'm not gonna." I was always like that for my family, you know, for my dad, for my brothers, my sister. I go to war for them, you know. What do I care about my life? I hate injustice. I hate people that take advantage of people and get over on people, you know. And my dad was a good dude. So I kind of want to go back there, you know what I mean, now that I'm a born-again Christian, and just tell them the story. Like, you know, you got what you guys did to my father. Did you guys know that he had brain cancer? So you pretty much beat up somebody that had a disability, a mental disability. But they don't care, because I had a Muslim friend, and he said they treat special needs people with mental handicaps in their country like dogs. They're evil, man. I know a lot of Muslims are good guys. I've met them, but I guess you guys are going to see what a lot of them are really like after the rapture. So I'm going to end it there. We got to be nice to people. You know, I forgive them in Jesus' name. You know, and I remember I visited some other Muslims from New York Chicken. They was on Morse Road, and they got to some little tiff with my dad too, you know, kind of along the same lines, you know. And I went back in there and I told them, like, yeah, I know y'all had some issues with my dad. Did you know that he had a mental disability because he had brain cancer, and it's like they heart dropped. And I stopped going over there. I'm not gonna work. I'm deliver food for y'all and help y'all out. You know what I mean? But I want y'all to know, because they're all together. You know, they all go to the same mosques. They're all family. They're all interconnected. It's probably one of their cousins or something. You know what I mean? My dad got a lot of business by referrals and word of mouth. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? This is the world we live in. All right.